Hey, what's up guys? This is the second part of my Nightwing tutorial. This one's going to be focusing on staff. Now, if you guys didn't see the first part, focused on Eskrima, you'll find it in the description. Down below, it covered pretty much everything Eskrima, every normal, every special move, everything about that stance in general. We'll do the same thing here with staff, and I'll do a couple more videos talking about the combination of both, because to really play Nightwing, you have to be able to use both stances in every matchup and understand there are different uses and what you basically need each one for. So today we're going to be talking about staff. If you guys missed the last video, you won't know what the big differences between staff and Eskrima are. So I'll just run through them real fast. So in Eskrima, his normals are a little bit slower. He's not quite as quick in, when he's up close and stuff like that. He's not quite as frightening. He has more, options to zone in that stance, or in Eskrima, but, the main difference is he has more mobility and slower normals. So he has like a normal jump, normal forward and back dashes, but when he goes into staff, his forward and back dashes are a little bit slower. As you can tell there, his back dash is way slower, and he gets this nice little short hop that looks like that. So he doesn't quite have the same mobility. However, his normals are almost significantly better up close than they are in staff, and his pressure game is slightly different but just as threatening. So that's pretty much the biggest differences between the two stances. So we'll run through his normals real quick, talk about his special moves, and just break down the stance a little bit. So normals, he has his stand 1. It's an 11 frame poke, looks just like that, can be buffered into things for a full combo if you spend a bar. Very nice tool, locks people down. Just a very nice tool overall, and it's a great normal. It leads into most of his damage is going to be coming off something from a stand 1. His stand 2 looks like this, 22 frame overhead, -4 on block. It's very, very good. Leads to a combo starter with the back 3 after. Whoops. And to whatever you want to do. In the corner, you can just juggle without the back 3, but mid-screen, you can get back 3 into whatever big damage you want. So it's a really nice tool, and you get a lot of damage off of it. It also combos off of his jump 2, so jump 2 is definitely a thing. So there is that. His stand 3 looks like this. You're only going to use it in combos. In neutral, it's not a very good tool. It's just sort of whatever, but in certain combos you might use it, like after a back 3. A lot of people might do jump 2, stand 3, something like that. So, that's always an option. His crouching or down 1 looks like this. It's famously plus. But what people don't understand about his down 1 is that it's actually not threatening at all by itself. Doesn't do very much damage, and it doesn't really threaten you. What's good about his down 1 is that it sets up the rest of his offense, right? So the plus frames from his down 1, which is +3, it's 6 frame startup +3, allow you to use the rest of his options, right? His down 1 being plus allows him to force you to about this range where he can start doing stand 1 and then set up the rest of his offense. So that's basically the thing about his down 1. It's plus, it's fast, but it's not really that scary. It's more of a threat or anything. It's an annoyance more than anything else. His down 2 looks like this. It's a surprisingly good anti-air, and it was not that great until they actually changed it in one of the patches, and now it's a little bit better. It can anti-air a lot of things, but still won't trade with everything, or still won't beat everything. It'll trade a lot, and it'll lose to certain things as well. His down 3, which is a sweep, is actually a really great normal. A lot of people don't know, but after transitions, he is almost always in range for down 3 or back 1. Those two normals he is always in range with. So back 1 will catch out jump backs or stuff like that, and down 3 will catch anything else if they're standing, right? Speaking of back 1, his command normal, the reason this normal is so good, besides being a pretty good far distance anti-air, works well against a Black Adam dive kick and stuff like that, is that it's actually neutral on block. So since it's neutral, you can almost always do down 1 before your opponent can do anything after, right? So back 1, down 1 is always a good option. And as you can see there, you can combo after it in the corner. But it's a very good normal. It's one of his better normals just because it has that huge range it covers. And it's very good for catching jump backs and closing the distance in a lot of situations. So really, really great normal as well. And neutral on block means that you can pretty much always do down 1 after. So there is that. That covers all of his ground normals. His air normals, he has his jump 1. Looks just like that. That's a pretty nice hitbox. The main thing about this is that you can use it offensively and defensively. A lot of people don't know, but that defensively, this is one of his best normals. Jump back 1 is super good. If your opponent's just plus, if your opponent's plus, but not a huge amount, jump back 1 will pretty much stuff all of their options after, depending on the character. Like if Doomsday does meter and shoulder, jump back 1 after is a really great option, because after a point blank jump back 1, you can still do a stand one into ground blast, stuff like that. So you'll still be in range. Defensively, it's a great tool. On offense, the same thing. You can use it to go for a kind of a fast overhead. It starts up in 7 frames, so it's really good. Jump 2 looks like this. I talked about it earlier as using jump 2 too as an option to combo, but the main reason jump 2 is really good is that it's one of his best anti-airs. It's one of his best anti-airs in staff. So you just go air to air with people with jump 2. It's super great. It has a fantastic hitbox, and it's really good for that kind of stuff. Speaking of anti-airs, in the corner, which is where you'll probably use staff the most, his stand 2 is a fantastic anti-air for jump backs. It deals with jump backs surprisingly well, and you can combo after it in the corner really easy with whatever you want. So it's a really, really great tool for that as well. His last normal, jump 3, you won't get very much mileage out of. That's kind of a strange hitbox, and it's just a weird normal overall, but you can use it in certain combos and setups, so it's not always a bad idea to use, but only in certain situations. That's what his jump 3 looks like. So yeah, there is that. Now that is all of his normals. Let's talk about his strings. So his main strings, he has 1 back 1, which I mentioned earlier. Back 1 is that normal. I don't really know a use of this string that I would use that often. Maybe after a transition to try to lock somebody down, but it's always an option. He has 1 down 3, looks like that. It's a string into his sweep. The one thing about 1 down 3 is that I don't understand, I'll get into later, is that there's almost always a better option, but it is something you can use. So there's 1 down 3. 1 forward 1, which is his main offensive string. It's +2 on block, leads to almost all of his mix-ups and startups, and it's also a low. It's a very, very good tool. Really, really awesome. You can cancel it into whatever you want after. Whoops. So really, really awesome tool. And then the last string is 1 forward 2. It's an overhead, really fast. Can't really react to it, but it doesn't do very much damage. You can tech roll it, and you can wake up after you get knocked down. So a lot of times it'll end his pressure early and kind of give your opponent a way to weasel out. But 1 forward 2 is an option when people are really good at reacting to stand 2, which most people should be. So that is, an option as well. Now I'll get into his special moves. His main special moves in this stance, he actually only has 3 as far as I remember. Ground Blast, down back 2. It's 21 frames of startup. You can also meter burn it for a full combo from full screen, or if you're up close, then you can do whatever kind of combo you want off of it. Doesn't matter either way. Whoops. But that's what it looks like. Ground Blast looks like that. It's also very plus on block. Ground Blast, when you're not meter burned, is also plus as well, which is what helps with his pressure. A lot of people don't know stand 1 Ground Blast from a range like that is actually interruptible. Even if you do stand 1 forward 1 Ground Blast, you can interrupt that as well. Whoa, I just got a whole bunch of text. Sorry about that. So yeah, 1 forward 1, a Ground Blast is actually interruptible at most ranges as long as your opponent has a normal to deal with it. But Ground Blast is a very good normal. It's plus on block, and that's what makes it a good projectile tool as well, especially when people don't understand how to deal with it. A lot of people will just sit there and just be like, I have no idea how to deal with this, and they don't understand how to dash or jump out of it. So there is that. That is his main projectile in this stance. He has staff spin, looks like this. It is down back 3. It's his main pressure tool in this stance. When you do staff spin, if you hit the trait button, you can actually go back into Eskrima after, which sets up a lot of his things, right? So he has a lot of setups that are like this, where he switches back and then does, like a cross-up or a same side, stuff like that. Or you can do like a cross-up flip kick and stuff like that. So that's one of the main ways he gets setups, is that his staff spin is cancelable back into Eskrima. If you meter burn the staff spin, it is super plus on block. On hit, you can get a combo after. So, one of his combos, he might do something like this. Whoops, sorry about that. And then you can continue to combo after in the corner. It's actually a very interesting tool. There's famously a bunch of combos where he gets like 5 down 1s after. So it's a very interesting pressure tool, and it has a huge hitbox at the end. It's super easy to catch people with the last hit of it. Because even if you do it from super far, the last hit has incredible range. So if they try to whiff punish you, you can meter burn it on reaction to kind of blow them up. So that is always an option as well. And his other special move in this stance would be Flying Grayson. Looks like this. This is famously my least favorite move to use in neutral. The thing about Flying Grayson is it's a pretty good anti-air from far, or it's very good from catching jump backs as well. If you don't want to do back 1, it's always an option. It's really good at catching back dashes and jump backs. So anything defensively your opponent's trying to use to get out of your pressure, right? So if you do a Ground Blast from a range like this and you think your opponent's going to jump back, that's when Flying Grayson becomes, a good option after, is that if your opponent's like, oh no, there's plus frames, I want to get out of here, get Flying Grayson. Now the thing about Flying Grayson is that you can fully combo punish it on a whiff punish. Super easy to punish, super easy to bait, because your opponent can just sort of stand there and then crouch when they see it coming and then full combo punish it. So there's Flying Grayson. It's a combo ender as well. That and Staff Spin are your main combo enders. So a very good tool for dealing with defensive options. So when your opponent's trying to get away from your pressure and being impatient, Flying Grayson is a great tool. It can also cross up in certain setups. But, you know, I've made a couple videos about that, and it's a really interesting mechanic, so keep that in mind as well. So now that we've covered that, let's see, what else? Oh, I forgot to cover his forward and backwards threes. So his forward and backwards three are interesting. His forward three is a weird-looking normal. Not a lot of people know what his forward three look like. I still hit people with it sometimes. His back three is a great normal. You use it in pretty much all your staff BNBs, and it has huge range. It looks like that. The interesting thing about Nightwing is that from almost any range you land a ground blast, you'll be in range to do back three. So right there, you can hit him with back three and transition him. So back three with Nightwing is really great. It has a lot of range, and it's a really nice tool as well. So that is something to think about. Now that I've run through everything, we'll just talk a little bit about staff. The main thing in staff is that you have to remember that a lot of staff is about predicting your opponent's reactions. So if you think your opponent's gonna, it's about predicting your opponent's defensive patterns. So if you think your opponent's gonna try to jump back when you're in the corner, then stand 2 will blow it up. If you think your opponent, you know, if you're mid-screen and someone blocks a ground blast, if you think they're gonna jump back, then Flying Grayson is a good tool to catch them. If you don't think they're going to do anything, then you can jump forward with like jump 1 and get more pressure. Excuse me. If you think they're going to backdash as well, another option you have after ground blast is you can wait a second and then do a meter burn ground blast, and they'll be in range for you to do a back 3 full combo punish. So that's the main thing about staff. Staff is a great pressure tool in the sense that it blows up what your opponent is trying to use to defend. If your opponent's patient and it's not making, you know, not hitting a lot of buttons and just watching for what you do, staff isn't always the best pressure tool. But if your opponent is being impatient, trying to wiggle out, and, you know, doesn't know how to deal with your pressure, staff can be incredibly overwhelming and is very hard to deal with, depending on the matchup especially. Certain characters have a lot of trouble dealing with staff. So, you know, that's the biggest thing about staff, is the more unfamiliar your opponent is with it, the better it's going to be. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this rundown on staff. And the second part of my Nightwing tutorial, the rest of it will be out soon. I hope you guys liked the first part as well on Eskrima. I just covered everything to do with this stance. That stance is way more core to Nightwing. There's a lot more to it than staff. Staff is very bare bones compared to Eskrima. As you can tell, it's sort of the secondary stance. That doesn't mean it's a worse stance. It just means that it has less options, but they all, these fewer options cover more situations, right? So it's about using the same tools in different situations to react to stuff. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a like or a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys have an excellent day, and I'll see you guys again soon.